Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to go over today why less qualified coaches are getting chosen over you. So you might be wondering, what does it take to be the go-to in your niche, to be chosen effortlessly without people having to really spend 6 to 12 months consuming your content? So I'm going to go over exactly why a less qualified coach might be getting chosen and getting bought from instead of you. When your work is incredible, when your work is amazing, and the clients that are inside of your containers really feel that value, that transformation that you provide once they're inside. But when they're looking at it from the outside, when your prospect is checking you out, they're not necessarily getting this vision of what it's like to work with you. And that's kind of giving away a little bit of the answer, right? So I want to talk about this idea that not always will the most highly qualified coach be the one that wins the deal. And there's a lot of times when that isn't the case. And so if you are experiencing that, if you have incredible life transforming coaching skills and are not getting picked up by your ideal client. So listen up, I'm going to go through 10 reasons why that might be happening and how you can fix it. So number 10, the reason why a less qualified coach might be winning your clients that are meant to be yours is that they're making their ideal person not feel like it's a transaction. So the moment that your prospect meets you, they need to feel that you care about you. This is one of the 4 trust triggers I talk about. I'm happy to point you to the video in the description if you want to learn more about the main 4 trust triggers that you need to activate when your ideal buyer is checking you out and trying to assess whether they want to pay attention to you, to your content, and eventually to buy from you. And so they need to not feel like they're being treated like a potential buyer. They need to feel that they're not just being nurtured as a lead in order to then go and buy from you. So the person that feels like you were making them feel like an actual person that you care about, that you're not just interested in getting money from them in order to be able to, post your Stripe screenshot everywhere and just say like, hey, I made 100K this month and this is how I did it. They need to not feel like they're a number on that Stripe screenshot. So what she's going to say is something like, I didn't even know what it was. Her content wasn't anything crazy, but something about her just made me feel like she actually really, really cared about me. She gave a damn about who I am and how to help me. Like I wasn't just another client to her. I wasn't going to be just another client to her. And number 9, they have to make it feel like it's easy to say yes, even before the sales call, meaning they want to feel something that by the time I got to the call, I had already decided I just needed to hear her voice. I just needed to kind of go through what the program entailed. And the way to create that feeling in your ideal client is through belief shifting and connection. So she needs to feel that she can trust you. And she also needs to have all of these beliefs shifted to get her from where she is right now, ready to buy from you. So a coach might be less qualified, but if they are doing those 2 things, if they're creating personal human connection, and if they are shifting beliefs with the exact pieces of content that will do that, they'll win the client every time, regardless of how qualified they are or how much more experience they have. You need to be doing those 2 things in your content. You need to be creating an intimate personal connection and activating those trust triggers of you get them, you care about them deeply, you're the expert, and your personalities and your values align. Those are the 4 core trust triggers. But you also need to be shifting their beliefs. So where they are now is point A, where they want to get to is point B. And between point A and point B are all of these beliefs that need to be shifted about what's holding them back internally. Am I capable of doing this? Do I have the right time to do this? Will my spouse agree to that? Maybe that's an external belief, but mostly like, am I capable? Will this work for me and my industry? And then external beliefs about whether your mechanism is the right way to get to point B or the fastest and the best way for them to get to point B. All of these other beliefs around money or around other constraints that revolve around your mechanism or just the approach that you have. And so you need to be doing those two things. And a less qualified coach might be doing those two things and getting better results than you are for that reason. Number 8. So as much as I hate talking about volume of content, there is something called the familiarity bias in buyer psychology, which means that the more you see something or someone, the more likely you are to trust it. Think about how often in your entire life you've seen the golden arches at McDonald's. So whether or not their food is quality, which we all know it's not, the idea that seeing those golden arches over and over and over again has kept them in business, right? And it's created the familiarity that comes from seeing something over and over and over again. So as much as I don't believe that you need an insane amount of volume of content, we need to create the right pieces of content in order to show up often enough and shift those beliefs at the same time. So familiarity bias is a big one. They need to feel like I kept seeing her pop up in my feed all the time. And at some point I just felt like I knew her already. So there's a much faster way to do this with one single asset, which is the human connection video. But if you don't have that yet, then volume is going to be your best friend in regards to creating that familiarity. Number 7, their social proof hits differently. And what I mean by that is that they've worked with clients that are very, very similar to you. And so the idea that you're not just getting sort of surface level testimonials, you're getting people whose lives were transformed and you can feel it in their stories, right? So it's not just about how much money your client made, but what was the impact of that in their business? And if I'm reading that social proof and that testimonial, can I actually feel that for myself? Can I actually imagine what the impact of that would be in my own life? And so your social proof needs to be incredibly specific in regards to creating that trust and in regards to showing them what's possible for someone just like them, right? So this was possible for somebody just like you. Ergo, it's going to be possible for me as well. So it's helping shift that belief of, will this work for me? Now, of course, you can't work with every single kind of client. So what you want to do is really try to cover your bases as much as possible. Like, what's the exact client you want to attract? And how many testimonials can you get that will actually speak to them on a really, really soul level? Number 6, they're easier to root for. Now, what I love about the work that I do is that I'm sharing with you as I build. So on my podcast, Empire Secrets of Digital Marketing, I have these episodes called Empire Diaries. And this is where I get really transparent about what I'm building and how I'm building it. And I've had clients tell me over and over again that they listen to those episodes and they feel like they're in it with me. Whether they had become a client or not, they can see the journey and they, start feeling that journey with me. So this idea that the things that you share should be curated, they should be specific to who you want to speak to and what's relevant to them, but also authentic to yourself. So it's kind of like a Venn diagram where there's an overlap between the two. So what is really authentic to you? What really matters to you? What are your values? And then also what really resonates and is going to draw in your perfect client. So what's the intersection of those two things? Sharing those parts of your story. And oftentimes it's something that happened in the past, something that's happening now, what your vision is for the future, helping people root for you and kind of be on your side is a huge, huge part of this. Number 5, they look like the obvious answer to a specific person. Now, we already know that if you're broad, you're not going to attract anyone. So the more specific you are, the more specific your person is going to feel like you are speaking to them and to their audience. And so think about it this way. If you were to sell a book about time management, you could probably sell that book for about $10, right? Not a whole lot. But if you were going to get specific from there, like time management for teachers, all of a sudden that's a little bit more interesting, maybe 15 or $20. Time management for teachers of special needs kids. Now you're getting so granular that the teacher who picks that up is going to know that it's specifically for her, and she or he is going to be willing to pay a whole lot more for it. And you could even go, even more specific from there. But this idea that when you are incredibly specific about the person that you help, even though you could help so many other people, right? It's not about that. It's about knowing who exactly you want to attract. Who is that person that you've gotten incredible results for, has the best lifetime value because they can actually pay you. Number three, that you would actually hang out with for free. That's usually the perfect client that you want to attract into your world as well. And so when you speak very specifically to them, they will hear that and be even more drawn to you. So a less accomplished, less experienced coach might be doing that and getting the clients that when they land on your stuff, they don't feel like you're speaking their language specifically, so they're not as drawn to you. Number four, they are creating certainty faster. So one thing that I really think that we neglect to think about in the coaching space is that your ideal client very likely is looking for an answer to their problem sooner than later. And if they are lingering and taking a while to solve this problem, it's because you haven't painted the picture of the desired outcome in a great enough light, or you haven't really triggered their pain and their feeling of like realization of like how much this is actually costing them not to solve this problem. And so when we do those two things, we have a client who's ready to buy now. But the reality is that our presence online, our content, and the way we show up, the way that they connect with us has to give them the certainty that this is what they want right now. So it's not just about decreasing the time it takes for them to decide, but giving them certainty faster based on the fact that we've created the picture of hell, where they're at right now, and the picture of heaven, which is where they want to go, in such a dramatic contrast that they can't help but want that heaven faster. They want to solve their problem faster. So I'll give you an example. I just met somebody who sells a course or program about organic gardening. And organic gardening is something that I've been wanting to do for years, but I've just never prioritized it. In fact, right now my garden is ready to be planted and I haven't planted it yet. And the reality is that I've never read copy or met somebody who's going to make me actually take action on it or who has made me take action on it. And if I did, I know I would be ready to buy right away because even though it's not a right now problem, if presented in the right way, so that I'm like, I have so much desire for this thing that had just kind of been a nice to have before, I will take action on it. And this happens over and over and over again, where we buy things that we didn't think we were going to buy because they weren't, you know, burning questions or bleeding neck problems. But when presented in the right way, we're ready to buy. So another example that comes to mind is my father-in-law when he went into change his car. I think his lease had run up and it was time for him to just renew his lease, or he did not expect to buy a completely different car. But that's what happens when you meet a great salesperson that shows you the things that you're not seeing for yourself. We often think that people just see what they need to see, right? Like they're set with their vision of what their problem is and what they want to fix. When in reality, we can create that vision for them. We can help them see things that they don't see for themselves. And when we do that in the right way, they're ready to buy from us because that's a problem that they want to solve right now. Number three, their positioning makes the buyer feel seen, not impressed. And so I have seen so many different websites that look glamorous, that look amazing, look very, very glossy, and even copy sometimes that's cheeky or well written. But the reality is that we need something deeper now. Like AI can write really good copy. In fact, I've been working with Claude for the last couple of days. I'm like, I'm impressed. This is good, solid copy. But when I brought in the really deep emotional elements of my specific person that I want to attract into my world, that's what moves the needle. So good copy isn't enough. Being impressed by your design isn't enough. Those things matter. You should not look scrappy. You should not look cheap. But at the end of the day, those are still surface level things. It's all about how we're making them feel on the deepest level possible. AI is the king of superficiality. AI will get you superficial, good looking things, superficial, decent copy. Going deeper understanding her, showing that you care and that you understand, that you get her at the deepest level, that you're verbalizing the things that she isn't even saying herself, that she's not even daring to say herself. And there's something about whether it's a status decrease depending on what you say. So there's a little bit of a line that you have to be careful with, but generally we don't actually even get that close. So going as deep as you can will probably not get you too deep where it's a status decrease for them to kind of raise their hand to something that you've said. On the other side of that, if your client's pain point, if your avatar's pain point is that deep and she is going to take action, the status decrease doesn't actually even matter. Like she doesn't care. She just wants to get it solved. Right. And so you have to have enough touch points or enough different positioning where she might, secretly identify with like the one that would be a status decrease, but she would verbally admit to all the other ones, even though if that one that's like the deepest one is kind of a secret check for her. Number two, they've captured their inexplainable magic on camera. So, what I mean by that is this feeling that the clients who are working with you inside your program, they get the magic that you bring to the world, right? They have been transformed by working with you. They speak about you with like spark in their eyes. All of that doesn't always translate to your content. In fact, like that is the biggest thing that I help people with is like, can you bring your magic to your content? Can you bring your magic to the outside world, to your prospects, to cold audiences that are meeting you for the very first time? Can they actually understand what you're about? Can they actually feel your presence and you're in their gut that you're the right person for them? Do they want to be in your world and in your orbit because of that magic? So a less qualified coach might be doing a better job of that, of getting their magic across, of making people see how incredible they are even before they come into their world. Whereas if you're not doing that, that's what creates the long sales cycle. That's what creates like people meeting you and then maybe deciding like, I don't know, I guess I'll follow her. I guess she's a little interesting. And then they have to consume 7+ hours, 70 hours sometimes of your content in order to build trust with you. So if you want to accelerate that, you need to understand how to get your magic, your uniqueness, your secret sauce across to these cold audiences the moment that they meet you. Segueing to that is number one. When your ideal client meets you online, do they feel your energy? That might be happening with less qualified coaches and not with you. And that will accelerate your sales cycle. So, your ideal client meeting you for the first time online needs to feel what it's like to be in your universe, not just from what your expertise is and not just, what the results were and the credentials that you have. That's all good. They want to understand what you're bringing to the table inside of your world. So, beyond the gates of the paywall, what are they going to experience inside? Are you bringing that to them on the outside? Do they feel like they would love to be in your world because they want more proximity to you? And in reality, with AI nowadays, it's not about information anymore. We know that. It's not even about implementation. It's who's the human who is going to look at this work that AI has helped me produce within that program and give their judgment call. At the end of the day, we're going to be using AI more and more to get results, to create the assets and the things that we want to do and get results from. However, we're going to be choosing the human who's going to be at the end of that process, looking at the work that AI and us have done together and evaluating that and seeing where the gaps are and seeing where the holes are. So the human element is changing within the coaching landscape because we're now putting even more importance on who's the human that's going to help us in this process. We need to not only want to be in the world, but also trust their judgment and want their eyes on our stuff. So when we look at the human element of the coaching choice for our prospects, they need to feel our energy. They need to understand that we care about them, that we get them deeply, and we have amazing resources that are going to help them So hopefully you're already using AI in your business to accelerate their results. But at the end of the day, they're choosing you to look at the work that AI is helping them create and kind of give your final stamp of approval, right? Like what are the missing gaps? What are the things that can be fixed? What did AI like not look at or not consider when you created your results? And that human element is going to be the coach that they decide to work with, who's actually going to make sure that their results are the best that they can be. And so I hope that was helpful for you. Check out a link in the description below if you want to find out about how to work with me a bit more closely. This is exactly what I help clients with, is bringing their energy to the surface of their content. I'll see you in the next one.